She came as the wife of J.A. Roberson. Since Mrs. Roberson is my grandmother, I shall call her grandmother through this recording. Grandmother, could you describe Ardmore and tell us something about the size and the streets?
When I first came here, Ardmore was just a real small town, and the streets was unpaved, and the hogs run loose all over Main Street, and we didn't have any sidewalks or paving or anything like that.
Did you have any street lights or anything?
No, we didn't have any street lights.
Well, could you tell us something about the buildings on Main Street, some that were there then?
Well, they were just old wooden buildings all along our Main Street.
Mm-hmm. What were the name of some of the buildings?
Well, Madden had a dry goods store, and the iron store was down there, too.
What was the iron store?
Well, that was a regular, they just carried everything. It was owned by Mundersheimer and Dobby.
I see. Well, then when did Dobby's originate? Did they bring it up to the end of Main Street later?
Yes, that's where they are now, located.
Well, tell us something about the banks and their facilities.
Well, we had the City State Bank, and I believe that was the only bank we had here at that time.
Where was that located?
It was located on B Street and Main.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you have any hospitals at that time?
No, we didn't have a regular hospital. Dr. Hardy had a hospital up over Ramsey's drugstore then on the corner of Cattle Street.
Mm-hmm. Well, who was in with Dr. Hardy?
Dr. Hardy and Dr. Von Keller.
Well, which doctor did you go to most?
Dr. Hardy.
Did he bring all of your children into the world?
Yes.
How many children did you have?
4, 2 girls and 2 boys.
Did Ardmore have any hotels at that time?
We had 2, the Whittington Hotel and the Randall.
Where were they located?
Well, the Randall is located over there where Penny's is now, and the Whittington is still down there on end of Main Street down on Cattle.
Which one was the best?
Whittington.
Was this Randall Hotel as large as the Whittington?
No.
Could you tell us something about your schools you had in those days?
Well, we didn't have very many schools then. We had the kindergarten where the Episcopal Church is right now, and Annie Berkshire taught there. And then we had some schools and just some buildings, around town.
Well, did everyone go to kindergarten?
Nearly everybody did, yes.
Did all of your children go?
They all went. Mm-hmm.
Well, what did they learn mostly at school? I mean, when they came home, what would they tell you they learned at school?
Well, they learned the ABCs and learned to read and write, just like they do now.
Who were some of the teachers? Do you remember any of the teachers they had?
Miss Mansfield and Miss Bishop.
Could you tell us something about the entertainment you had in those days, the theaters you had?
Well, we had a picture show on Main Street. It was owned by Amelia Hunter, and we had the Roberson Opera House.
Tell us something about the Roberson Opera House. Was it popular?
Yes, it was very popular. That's where all of our shows used to go there when they come to Ardmore.
Did you attend those shows very often?
Yeah, quite often.
Well, did the poor people attend the shows as often as other people, too?
No.
They didn't?
Mm-mm.
Well, were these entertainment, were they picture shows, or were they stage shows?
No, all the shows that went to the Roberson Opera House was stage shows, and the other at the Amelia Hunter's was picture shows, regular picture shows.
Could you tell us anything about Amelia Hunter, who she was?
Well, she'd lived here a long time, and she run that picture show for years. I forget now who she married. She's married now. She don't live here anymore.
Could you tell us anything about Carter Seminary?
Well, it used to be the Bloomfield Seminary in years gone by.
Was it larger then than it is now?
No.
Tell us something about the recreation parks you had in this town.
Well, we had one park, and that was Lorena Park, It was located where Johnson lives now, Roy Johnson.
Isn't that out near Dornick Hill?
Yes.
Oh, well, was there any way of getting out to there?
Well, we had streetcars.
Well, tell us something about your streetcars, where they started.
Well, they was just regular streetcars, you know, and they charged 5 cents to go out there, 5 cents back.
Well, where did they start from, these streetcars?
They had a regular barn.
Where was this
down
barn?
There on by the railroad track.
Tell me something about the type of housing you had in those days.
Well, they was just little old plain wooden houses. We didn't have very many houses then like they have now.
Did people have very fancy furniture and things like that?
No.
You didn't?
Mm-mm.
What were some of the clothes you wore? Had they changed very much?
Well, they used to wear their skirts a whole lot longer than what they do now. And just real plain clothes. They didn't wear very fancy clothes those days.
Well, did the men court the women as much as they do now?
I guess so.
Could you tell us anything about your courtship and marriage? It would be interesting.
Well,
where were you married?
I was married in Galveston, Texas.
And when did you come here? When did he bring you here? How did you get here?
On the train.
On the train.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us anything about the first cars you had and things of that
Well,
type?
the first car we ever had in Ardmore belonged to Dr. Harley, and it was built something like a buggy. And the first time he tried to drive it, he drove into the building on Washington Street and went right through the plate glass window.
What did the car look like? I mean, what were the tires like?
Well, regular tires.
Were they?
Uh-huh.
Were they little narrow ones, though?
Yeah. Solid tires.
Well, what type of songs did you sing in those days and the games you played? How were they different from today?
Well, they just sang the old-time songs.
Were there very many Indians in Ardmore?
No, not too many.
What about the colored people?
Well, there wasn't too many colored people here then either.
Did they live down where they live now, on the end of Maine?
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell me some of the people you knew and associated with closely in those days?
Well, Dr. and Mrs. Chivers, they lived here then. And Mrs. Webb, and Mrs. Cruz, and Westheimer, Mr. Max Westheimer and Mrs. Westheimer, and Mrs. College and Mr. College. And,
well, what did some of these people do for a living?
Well, some were teachers and some were just kept housekeepers, stayed at home.
What were some of the towns near Ardmore?
Well, Berwyn and Marietta, just like they are now.
Berwyn, wasn't that named something different?
No, it was Berwyn then, but now it's named Gene Autry.
Well, was the air base here then?
No.
When has it been here very long?
Well,
Since you've been here?
It's been here now for the last, I guess, about 6 years, ain't it? Something like that.
Well, Grandmother, what do you think about the changes that have been made since you were here in the younger time?
Oh, there's been quite a few changes made. Ardmore was just a little old country town. I come here and I've seen it grow to a city.
Do you think it's better now than it was then?
Oh, yes.
Well, I certainly do thank you for this recording, Grandmother, and I think you've helped us in many ways. This recording was made by Sylvia Roberson this 13th day of May, 1956, for the University of Oklahoma.